You ever heard about Greystone, quiet town, the kind that keeps its secrets buried under snow and silence? But there was a house on Whitmore Lane that wouldn't stay quiet. Claire Dawson shifted gears as her dusty green station wagon rolled through the winding, snow-lined roads of Greystone. Her children, Ethan and Sophie, stared out of the windows, mesmerized and uncomfortable. They had left behind Boston's chaos and heartbreak, but neither of them knew the kind of chaos that awaited here. The house stood like a corpse, cold, grey, and half swallowed by trees. The for sale sign was still swinging slightly, even though she had signed the papers weeks ago. It was too cheap to be true, but Claire was desperate. Sophie whispered, "Mum, this house feels like it doesn't want us here." Claire smiled nervously. "It's just old. Houses creak, like old bones." She didn't notice the window on the second floor, where something moved behind the dusty glass. The first night was filled with whispers, not loud, just present. Ethan sat upright in his bed, staring at the closet. His little fingers clutched the blanket as his lips moved silently. Downstairs, Claire tossed and turned on the old floral couch. The air smelled like dust and forgotten memories. Suddenly, a loud bang from upstairs. Claire rushed up the staircase, heart pounding. "Ethan!" "Sophie!" She opened Ethan's door. He was sitting up, eyes wide. "The man in the wall," he said calmly. "He said the house is hungry." Claire's blood turned cold. The following morning, Claire entered the dining room to find one of the chairs turned completely away from the table, facing the dark hallway instead. She looked at the kids. "Who moved the chair?" Sophie shrugged. Ethan didn't even look up from his cereal. "He did." Claire blinked. "Who's he?" "The man who watches." That night, the sound of footsteps echoed again, upstairs, pacing, stopping, then dragging. Claire turned on every light. No one was there, until she opened the attic door. Cold air rushed out, and she saw muddy footprints on the wooden steps leading down from the attic, but it hadn't been opened in years. It was Sophie who first refused to go into her room. "It's freezing in there," she said. "It doesn't want me sleeping." Claire walked in, instantly feeling it too. The air was like ice, unnatural. Her breath came out in puffs and the walls seemed to pulse, like they were breathing. She turned on the electric heater, but the temperature didn't rise. In the corner, Sophie's doll sat upright, its head turned toward the closet. It hadn't been like that before. Claire picked it up, and the doll whispered, "He's coming." She dropped it with a scream, but the whisper lingered. Inside her head, Ethan began scratching at his walls every night. "He says it's inside," he told Claire. Claire thought it was just nerves, trauma, but when she stood in his room, she could hear it too. Faint scratching behind the drywall, like nails or claws. She called a handyman. He checked inside the walls. He found no animals, just an old, burned Bible sealed in a brick pocket near the foundation. The pages were all blank, except one. Scrawled in ash was a single word: suffer. One night, the basement door creaked open on its own. Claire locked it every day, but somehow it always opened. Sophie dared Ethan to go down. "Don't be a chicken." He went. A few seconds passed, then a loud scream. Claire ran down to find him standing still in the middle of the basement, staring at the wall. Carved into the stone was a message: "I was never buried." His voice trembled. "She's in the walls. Her fingers are still moving." Claire called the police. They sent Detective Mark Holter. He listened to her story, skeptical but polite. Then she played the audio recording she'd captured. Footsteps, whispering, and something growling. His face changed. "Where did you say you got this house?" "The bank. It was in foreclosure." This house belonged to the Durrett family. In 1948, the mother murdered all three of her children. claimed voices made her do it, said the house chose her. What happened to her? She hung herself in the basement. The body was never found. Detective Holter brought in Father Connors, an old Catholic priest from the area. The priest entered the house and instantly froze. "You should never have brought your children here." He sprinkled holy water and recited Latin prayers. The air turned heavier. A mirror shattered in the hallway. Suddenly the floor began to vibrate. Father Connors turned pale. "It's not a demon. It's a hunger. It mimics the dead. It knows your thoughts. This is older than God." That night, Sophie stopped speaking. She just smiled. Claire sat on her daughter's bed. "Sophie, what's wrong?" Sophie turned slowly. Her voice was not hers anymore. "She watches you. She wants your bones." Ethan began screaming from his room. His walls were bleeding, thick black liquid oozing from the cracks. Claire grabbed them both and ran from the house. The front door slammed shut behind her. On its own, Claire fled to a motel with the kids. She didn't sleep. Instead, she called a woman she found online, Dr. Leah Ramsey, a renowned paranormal researcher. Dr. Ramsey arrived the next morning. She walked into the house with EMF meters, thermal scanners, and a crucifix around her neck. Within minutes, her meters began spiking. Violent red signals, cold pockets everywhere, especially in the basement. "This house isn't just haunted," she said. "It's a vessel. Something was sealed here long ago, and it wants out." She placed cameras in every room. The next morning, Claire and Dr. Ramsey watched the footage. At 2:14 a.m., Ethan sat up in bed, staring at the wall. A shadow moved across the room, without a source. In the kitchen, chairs flipped violently at 3:03 a.m., then reassembled themselves. Backward, but the most disturbing clip. In the attic, something crawled along the ceiling. Thin, human-like, but grotesque. It stopped in front of the camera and smiled. Claire gasped. That's my mother's smile." Dr. Ramsey proposed a séance to force the entity to reveal itself. They gathered in the living room, Claire, Dr. Ramsey and Father Connors. Candles flickered violently. The priest prayed aloud. Ramsey whispered, "Who are you? Why are you here?" A female voice echoed from the walls. "I was starved. They fed me their grief. I am their silence." Suddenly all the candles blew out. Ramsey screamed as deep scratches appeared on her arms, fresh and burning. The voice continued, "I am not dead. I remember the fire." After recovering, Ramsey checked the blueprints again. There was a sealed-off room beneath the basement, never registered in official records. They broke through the bricks. Inside they found a tiny hidden chamber, lit by strange candles that still seemed warm. On the walls were hundreds of children's drawings, all in charcoal, all depicting the same figure, a tall, faceless woman in black. In the corner was a child's bed and something buried beneath it, a small mummified female skeleton with cloth shoved into its mouth. Father Connors fell to his knees. The house was her tomb, and her voice was taken. That night, the house went silent. No whispers, no movement, just a terrifying stillness. At 3:33 a.m., Sophie began to scream. Her eyes rolled back. Her mouth opened unnaturally wide, and a woman's voice came out. "They forgot me." "You made them forget." Suddenly, Ethan began to levitate from his bed. His arms spread like crucifixion. Claire, sobbing, yelled, "What do you want?" "To be remembered. To be felt. To be fed." Every light shattered at once. Dr. Ramsey devised a plan to perform an exorcism mixed with spiritual release to free the spirit trapped in the walls. They gathered in the basement, surrounding the hidden remains with salt and candles. Father Connors began the rite. The ground trembled. Voices screamed from the walls, children, women, something ancient. Claire poured holy oil over the bones. Suddenly the walls cracked open, revealing hundreds of open eyes watching them from inside the foundation. Claire cried out, "You are seen now. You are not forgotten." The bones burst into flame, white blinding fire. Then silence. Days passed. No more footsteps. No more voices. The house remained quiet. Claire packed up the kids. She had to leave Greystone. Dr. Ramsey stayed behind, collecting final evidence. Father Connors refused to enter the house again. As they drove away, Ethan looked back at the house and whispered, "She's still there. She just likes Mom now." Claire didn't respond. Her eyes in the rearview mirror flickered white for just a second. 2 months later, a real estate agent entered the Greystone house. He found a cassette recorder still running in the attic. It had been recording every night. He pressed play. All he heard was static. Then a whisper, "Hello again." The door behind him slammed shut.